All right, this is about the 17th time the LAPD has cycled around. They're flying in circles right here. They've been doing this this is number 16. I'm in my room watching television and they're flying in circles. This is number 17. So they're going back and forth, which is 18, then they go back and forth, then it's 19, then they go back and forth, then it's 20. I want to be clear, they've been doing, and then the entity was also sounding sirens. This is stalking in the path. This is perpendicular shadows. This is heavy duty demonic activity right here. This is very demonic. The entity is engaged. That's light activity. That's a stalker outside of my window in close proximity in the engineered light, and they are flying back and forth. There's no emergency. This is patrolling, light activity, amplification of audible activity, just like they were last night over this apartment complex. The other morning at 5:38 a.m., the entity, and that's on of 1818 number 4, they're going to be deported out of this country. They act with impunity. Those are demon-possessed group stalkers who do not belong in this country. They're engaged in terrorism with the LAPD. That's number 18. They're just flying in circles. This is what they were doing last night, flying in circles over here. This is called relevant positioning, and that's light activity. That's light activity. And this is Alvarado Gardens. Like I said, everybody's losing custody of their children here. The FBI is going to come and raid this property. This is the crime scene where the LAPD is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. And this is why they're flying in circles. This is number 19. Just flying in circles. I want to be clear, this is highly demonic. So I want to be clear, the system of federal group stalking and monitoring, not only is it a criminal act by government that's targeting you, monitoring you, understand it exceeds the engagement in obsessive stalking by government, because the entity was monitoring. That is the practice of demonic conduct even while they were kidnapping me inside of the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department jails. And West Valley, remember, they've already engaged in kidnapping me. You're in jail. So what is the point of still engaging in the demonic pacing? Why do you have multiple shots? Why is the engineered light? Why are you going to the extent of aiming the engineered light through the windows, all across the walls and the floors? This is demonic conduct that's practiced by a government. So understand, this is in every way demon-possessed people. And this is a demon that is flying a helicopter. This is number 20, flying in a circle. This is exactly what they were doing last night right over here. And I want to be clear, demons are in their police vehicles, fire trucks, and ambulances, and they're sounding sirens, making it sound as though there was a bomb that went off. There's no emergency. This is P.O.C. And the Ontario Police Department documented engaging in the same exact identical conduct. And these are demons, again, hostile because I document. The group stalker that you saw at the Fontana Lewis Library, who was documented with the Fontana Police Department today at 1:17 p.m. and you see that light source hovering over the Fontana Lewis Library, while here at the same time the entity is group stalking with this same police department, the Los Angeles Police Department, under the light source that's over my head in that same position in Los Angeles. She's going to federal prison, just like I told her and Officer Summers at the Fontana Lewis Library, where they were engaged in criminal monitoring. The Fontana Police Department group stalking by helicopter day and night, just like you see the Los Angeles Police Department doing, under what is not possibly the sun. While I published that documentation, which is serving for federal imprisonment for not only Ms. Ortiz at the Fontana Lewis Library, for not only Officer Summers of the Fontana Police Department, for not only the disbanding of the Fontana Police Department, the disbanding of the Los Angeles Police Department, federal prison for Mayon Clemens, federal prison for the entity group stalking via it was 1804, and also the other group stalker, who was I? 1812, Dong Kim. She's going back to Korea. She came to this country. She's engaging in terrorism with the LAPD. She's being shipped back to Korea, where she belongs. She doesn't belong in this country engaging in terrorism with this corrupt law enforcement agency. All right? They were engaged in the pattern of conduct under the fake sun, which is nowhere near being over the Fontana Lewis Library. And like I documented in April of 2022 at 1:17 p.m., where there cannot possibly be a sun here, the entity engages in this demonic conduct. It's not only criminal monitoring, but understand these are demons that engage in this ritualistic stalking behavior with light, with cycling around. This is the pacing conduct. This is the psychopath that's pacing in the engineered light. And I want to be clear, all of these demons in relevant position, they are sharing this ongoing hostility and animosity. This is how demons communicate it. This is ritualistic right now. This is satanic. That's criminal summoning. Audible activity in the engineered light. The people of the state are monitoring. This is federal prison for the people of the state. I want to be clear. The entity's not acting by itself. The people of the state are monitoring. This is how they engage in it. And this is also how demons show hostility, and it's a threat to your life. And this is what the Ontario Police Department did on an ongoing basis as I documented that entity. And that's beyond a coincidence also. It's in engineered light. And 1818 number 4 was group stalking right over here in engineered light with perpendicular shadows. That's a demon in close proximity pacing around. This is demon possession. That's demon possession. Those are demons that are in operation of state vehicles, sounding sirens in relevant position. And I want to be clear, everybody at Alvarado Gardens, the FBI is going to raid this property. The people of the state who you see covered in engineered light on an ongoing basis, this is serving for what is a massive prosecution of the people of the state. Okay? That's what this is going toward. Because this is exactly what the Ontario Police Department engaged on an ongoing basis, showing hostility to my ongoing documentation, and it's going toward the prosecution of the people because the LAPD is already prosecuted. They're already done. This is terrorism that's underway in the United States of America. This is terrorism. All right, this is not some third world country. This is a corrupt law enforcement agency engaging in demonic behavior, and it is serving for what is group stalking and monitoring, and it is done in concert with the people of the state. Everybody that lives at Alvarado Gardens, let me be clear, they are under the same condition. These are demons that live in the state of California. This is a criminal system. It's not just the fact that they're demons. These are demons that are engaging in criminal activity. They're monitoring. There are laws in this country that outlaw that. So this demonic behavior is serving for what is a criminal system underway, and that was about number 27, 28. If you continued counting, they were doing that for a prolonged period, and they're not going anywhere. It's only because I put a camera on them. Okay? Those are demons that are obsessively stalking on an ongoing basis, and they engage in this stalking behavior, this demonic conduct, which is monitoring, inside of the facilities. That is inside of the police departments, inside of the jails, which are where the sheriff's department's at, and they do it in concert with the demon-possessed inmates and the demon-possessed medical workers, these so-called health professionals. This is satanic. This is ritualistic, okay? But that was all the elements of monitoring as well. Okay, that was the demon that I told you. Demons want to do this in the engineered light. Demons down there with perpendicular shadows, they want to go back and forth in engineered light. This is demonic, what they're doing, and they're monitoring you while they do that. The entity is doing this while flying in a circle. This is what's being accomplished in engineered light in the environment. A demon is in close proximity on the ground in alignment to my apartment, walking around in the parking lot with perpendicular shadows. Demons are surrounding in the perimeter, sounding sirens. That's amplification of audible activity. All of the demons, in other words, that are all surrounding me, living in relevance, they're all monitoring me, and they're all monitoring together. Understand the significance of what these demons are doing corporately. Okay, this is a communication of animosity and hostility by a bunch of demons who I am exposing. I hope you understand that. And it was also the communication of a threat by a government that's monitoring, that's going toward the prosecution of the people of the state. And as you slice down that entity, meaning by name, when I prosecute Rita Vega, when I prosecute Tiffany Sherez, when I prosecute Precious Bastilles, when I prosecute Mayan Clemens, when I prosecute Christopher Ahn and his parents, all of whom are demon possessed, when I prosecute the entity that's group stalking by Abigail Peckman, you can fill in the blank with all of them. Those that are not only at Alvarado Gardens, when I prosecute Tracy Lemire Banks. This video documentation serving for what an entity is doing on an ongoing basis, threatening your life. Understand that ongoing conspiracy is occurring on a ceaseless basis. What the entity is doing, they're doing together as one. And this is the exact same entity that is acting in the Inland Empire and in San Bernardino County. It's the state. So the state is acting directly now via the demons that are in Los Angeles County. The entity is acting vicariously via the demons that live in relevant position, work in relevant position, travel in relevant position in Los Angeles County around me, where the entity is now maintaining the center of the universe. And that's how you see, that's how you see the light source above my head at 1:22 p.m. this afternoon, where I'm showing you, I'm reminding you about what I already captured, which is at 1:17 p.m. in that video. I ended at 1:21 p.m. and I'm in Fontana, California at the Fontana Lewis Library, where, by the way, the entity is rising. I mean Officer McMillan under the light source at Arrow and Sierra, which is feet away from the Fontana Lewis Library, 9 o'clock in the morning, 6:32 p.m., that same intersection, the sun is setting. You see the people of the state pacing around in engineered light, driving in engineered light, walking in engineered light is the pattern of conduct. It's demonic, and it's happening right in your face. And these demons engaged in what is a worldwide demonstration so you can see what demonic activity looks like. And while they engage in this demonic activity, while the demon-possessed surround me and they communicate this threat together, while they're, in other words, while they're engaging in the criminal elements of monitoring together in that way via the corrupt law enforcement agencies who are demons flying helicopters, that's a threat to your life. And you are also understanding what demonic activity looks like. You just witnessed it. And they literally flew around about 30 times in a circle. That is an absolute psychopath. That is the demon that's right in front of you. During the day, a light source is over my head. And at nighttime, you're covered by directed light. They're with multiple shadows. They're walking around in engineer light. And they're going back and forth. That's exactly what LAPD was doing by flying in a circle right now. Over 30 times. 30 plus times. And the demons are surrounding in relevant position around the perimeter of the property. They're sitting around stalking, listening to me now, listening to every word I'm saying, sounding sirens. Sirens are amplified audible activity. It's criminal summoning. Just like you saw Fontana Lewis Library, Miss Ortiz engaging in today, that was criminal summoning. That's why she's going to federal prison. The people of the state engage in that criminal system together. The entity that is monitoring and group stalking cannot do it without the people. That's why she's going to federal prison. And by the way, just like you see this, I'm going to remind you about what the Ontario Police Department did on that same night after I left the Fontana Lewis Library, documenting the criminal act of criminal summoning, which is grounds of federal prison. Because while that ongoing threat to my life is ongoing, while that threat to my life persists, because Christina Ortiz, I believe that was her name, but her last name is Ortiz, she's engaging in what is obstruction of justice because I was documenting her sex offending criminal act. She's monitoring while my panties are down in the bathroom, and while I am documenting what is a violation of me sexually, and while she's monitoring, okay, on behalf of a government, all right, the sex offender that it is engaged in obsessive group stalking and monitoring, she summons the entity that is stalking. This entity that you see stalking in helicopter, stalking around a relevant position, sounding sirens, is the entity that they're summoning. That's why it's criminal summoning. It's the pattern of conduct. And those are psychopaths that act in that system together. The entity cannot do it without the people. She's going, and she will be reminded as I publish this documentation today, March 22nd, 2024, that she's going to federal prison for a very long time. Because I have continuously suffered damage while she acted on behalf of an entity to obstruct justice because I'm enforcing my rights. The people of the state are the vicarious arm. This is how the entity is able to engage in things such as criminal defamation and criminal summoning. This is how they're doing it. They're summoning the entity that's stalking and monitoring you 24 hours a day. Do you understand how psychotic that is? Literally, the psychopath flying in circles 30 plus times in relevant position to me. Doing it in relevant position to me last night. Stalking outside in a helicopter in the dark at 5:38 in the morning. Stalking in helicopter on the opposite side of my apartment, outside of my living room, where you see the light source rising. There's never going to be a sun rising in alignment to me or in alignment to my apartment or anywhere over near around Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles while it's remaining at the intersection of Sierra Avenue and Arrow Boulevard for the duration of the day. And I mean from 9 a.m. until after 6:32 p.m. where the entity is rising a light source in front of that venue, the Fontana Fire Department off of Arrow and Sierra Avenue, which is documentation that exists, where the entity is rising a light source as I've documented at the Fontana Chamber of Commerce where I stand. The documentation already exists. So this is documentation reminding Miss Ortiz while I'm in Los Angeles that she's going to federal prison while I am publishing documentation of this same exact entity group stalking through the Los Angeles Police Department who are demons, psychotic, mentally disturbed individuals who are group stalking with the people, flying 30 plus times in a circle. That's a psychopath. Understand, that's a weirdo. Those are weirdos, obsessed stalkers who are failing in their attempt to bother me. I'm going to put the people of the state in federal prison and in mental institutions, and I'm going to disband. I'm not going to. This evidence is serving to substantiate the disbanding of such corrupt law enforcement agencies. That's what that is. The people of the state where they're flying in circles over the property, all of this property is being documented. I don't need to know their names. They live in relevant position. They're waging a threat with the entity. They're going to be prosecuted as group stalkers. They're going on the database maintained by the Department of Justice as group stalking. And that's just one example. That's how you're going to prosecute group stalking in the state. All right. I just want to make sure that I get that because this is going toward the time in federal prison that Ms. Ortiz is going to get. As you saw her today, as I reminded you about documentation that already exists, what was not possibly the sun over me while she engaged in criminal summoning with these demon-possessed group stalkers who are monitoring me in the state of California. While you see Mion Clemens group stalking in the path on a cane, creating light activity and group stalking on behalf of this corrupt law enforcement agency who are demons flying in circles 30 plus times in relevant position. And then as a demon possessed entity together communicating a threat and hostility while they fly over and sound sirens in relevant position. This is the P.O.C. at Alvarado Gardens, 1800 North Alvarado Street. This is POC. It's currently 9:12 p.m. and I'm also going to upload about what the Ontario Police Department did on that night after I documented criminal summoning as I was at the Fontana Lewis Library, because the entity and I named her because understand what the people of the state do. They are the threat to your life and your liberty, your physical well-being, your safety, while they are the malicious guise under which an obsessed stalker, that is the state, that includes the people are the state, that a state is able to engage in threatening you, coming into close under the masquerading as some police officer. Let me be clear. You might lay that term around. Let me be clear. A demon-possessed group stalker is not a police officer. That's a minion that's waiting for their badge and their position and their reputation to be put in its proper place, removed from it, and to be identified as the psychopaths that they are, the threat that they are. They're not police officers. And that's exactly why you heard me referencing Summers in the way that I did. Okay, I want to be clear. I'm going to document this. I'm going to upload this, and I'm also going to remind you about what the Ontario Police Department did, engaged in an ongoing act of terrorism while demons are exceedingly hostile as I expose them. This is POC in Los Angeles, acting on behalf of the state, engaging in the same exact identical behavioral pattern. POC.